The following presentation is a follow-up to my video titled An Introduction to Adding Integers. If you have not seen that one, you may want to watch that one prior to viewing this video. I'm coming to you live from, where are we? Somewhere in the Middle East. And I'm not really live. I mean, I am now while I'm shooting this, but I won't be while you're watching it. I do hope to be alive while you're watching it, but that remains to be seen because there's a bunch of battles taking place right now. Some of them about to, and it's a lot going on here, and we're calling it integer warfare right now. There's a lot of different battles taking place on the field down here. We're trying to keep our distance and stay at a safe spot, but we're going to keep reporting back into you and let you know what's going on and who's winning, whose side's winning, the positives or the negatives. Anyway, it's hot out here. We've got to seek some shade and some shelter real quick so that we can try to stay as safe as possible. And I will report back in soon. Here, there are 5 soldiers on a sandy battlefield. They come across 8 negative soldiers on the battlefield. The positive soldiers send for reinforcements. 7 positive soldiers show up. Who is going to win this battle? The positives or the negatives? And by how many? In order to determine who wins and by how many, I am going to move from the left to the right following the order of operations. If you look to the far left, I have 5 positive soldiers, so I have positive 5. Next to them, I have 8 negative soldiers, or negative 8. So I have 5 plus negative 8. Now, let's use 0 pairs. After 0 pairs, I now have negative 8 soldiers. With the reinforcements that came, the 7 positives, who's going to win? Is it going to be the negatives or the positives? Well, there's more positives, so they will win. How many more positives are there? Let's use 0 pairs. There are 4 positive soldiers that remain. So 5 plus negative 8 plus 7 equals positive 4. Here's that same situation as a numerical expression. 5 positive soldiers plus 8 negative soldiers plus 7 positive soldiers. We're going to start on the left and move to the right following the order of operations. 5 plus negative 8 is negative 3 because there are 3 more negatives than positives. We're going to take the negative 3 and add 7. There are 4 more positives than there are negatives here. So the answer to negative 3 plus 7 is positive 4. 5 negative soldiers are moving across the desert plain. They encounter 5 positive soldiers. The negatives call in for reinforcements. 8 negative reinforcements show up. Who is going to win and by how many? First, let's start on the left and then move to the right. I have negative 5 on the left. To its right, I have positive 5. Who's going to win? If we use 0 pairs, no one wins. It's a draw. Now, what's left? 8 negatives. That's it. There's no one to fight against. There's no one to battle against, so the answer is negative 8. Here's that same situation in a numerical expression. Working from the left to the right, negative 5 plus positive 5 equals 0 because they're the same amount of negatives and the same amount of positives. Then we add 0 to negative 8. There are 8 more negatives than anything else. So the answer is negative 8. 8 negative soldiers are on the battlefield. They run across a squadron of 6 negative soldiers. These 2 sets of troops run into 10 positive troops. Who wins this entire battle, and by how many? Again, we're going to move left to right. We're going to start with our 8 negative soldiers, and then we're going to add our 6 negative soldiers. Well, the negatives are on the same team. They're not going to shoot each other. This is called friendly fire. That's not acceptable. So we're going to combine the 8 negative soldiers with the 6 negative soldiers. There are no zero pairs. Now, we're going to take the 8 negative soldiers plus the 6 negative soldiers, which equals negative 14, and they're going to battle the 10 positive soldiers. Who is going to win this battle? The negatives will win because there are more negatives than positives. How many more negatives? Well, there are 4 more negatives than there are positives, and we can use zero pairs to demonstrate this. There are 4 negative soldiers that remain. So the negatives win by 4, or negative 4. Here is that same situation as a numerical expression. Negative 8 plus negative 6 plus 10. We're going to start on the left and work to the right. Negative 8 plus negative 6 equals negative 14 because there's 8 negatives and 6 negatives together. Then we have negative 14 plus 10. Well, now there are more negatives than positives, and there are 4 more negatives than there are positives, so the answer is negative 4. This time, we have 3 positive soldiers. They run into 9 negative soldiers. The positive soldiers call for backup. 5 positive soldiers show up. Who's going to win, and by how many? The original 3 soldiers that are positive are completely outnumbered. They are going to lose. How many negative soldiers will there be? Removed our zero pairs. There are 6 negative soldiers left, or negative 6. Now we're going to move again to the right. We have 6 negative soldiers that are going to face off against 5 positive soldiers. Since there are more negatives, the negatives will win. Let's use zero pairs to find out how many they will win by. The negatives win by 1. So the answer is negative 1. In our last example, this is the numerical expression. 3 plus negative 9 plus 5. 3 plus negative 9 is negative 6. There are 6 more negatives than positives. Then we have negative 6 plus 5. There's 1 more negative than positive, so the answer is negative 1.